an interview with Gary Doernhoefer of ADRnotable.com. That is your topic for today on Manousso Musing with seasoned mediator trainer, Dr. Barbara Manousso. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hey everyone, this is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
And as a co-host on this podcast, Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
And I'm Dr. Barbara Sunderland Manousso in Rhode Island and in Texas. And we train as well as being practitioners in mediation and arbitration. And for our Manousso Musing, we are delighted to have one of the titans of mediation. And what's important in our guest today is that he brings so much information to the industry, not only as a practitioner, but bringing a program to help other practitioners also organize their flow of practice and how to optimize their opportunities. So I want to welcome and say thank you, Gary Doernhoefer. You are really amazing. Your background has been, you're an attorney. You've been a startup or a principal for many different aviation companies and organizations worldwide. And you also are kind of an inventor and an observer on how to make a better mousetrap. And this time it's not about mice, but it is ADR Notable, which again is a program that can be a software program that is very specific for the practice of mediation. So you've got a lot to share today, and thank you for being here, Gary.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Barbara. It's terrific to join you again after we chatted at the Texas Association of Mediators Conference just a little while ago.
Well, Gary, you do have a very interesting background, and taking on the opportunity or noticing the opportunity again to help other people maximize their practices and their opportunities. Tell us why your program was so important and how, give us a little history lesson of what brought you to the point of realizing people were in trouble, mediators needed you. So tell us a little bit about your program. Give us a little historical overview, please.
Sure. So, first of all, my interest in ADR generally came out of being an in-house lawyer. So suddenly, you're responsible for outcomes and costs, and you're looking for efficient, effective ways to resolve conflict for your internal client. Now, as you mentioned, was mostly in the airline industry. But when I left that industry, my home was near Columbus, Ohio, and I worked with the faculty at the Ohio State University Law School, and got engaged in ADR. And as you know, there are remarkable faculty there, terrific people. I took some training in mediation from Josh Stuhlberg, and it was working with Josh that I first realized there were very few tools, technology tools that were being used in the industry at that point. And law firms and in-house legal departments have an extensive range of tools they can choose to help them manage cases and prepare for litigation and so forth. And there didn't seem to be anything similar to that for the mediation or dispute resolution industry. So, and when you think about it, when you get engaged in this, first of all, you have all this information and skills you're supposed to practice as a mediator. You're thinking about listening, active listening and expressing empathy and building trust. And there's a lot going on in your mind at once. But at the same time, there's a whole series of practical things you need to be worried about. Did I get my agreement to mediate signed? Have I made my billing arrangements? What are the things I should be saying to these people in my opening statement? How am I going to manage documents that they send me and so forth? So what we decided was, look, let's see if we can't build one software product that takes all of those practical tasks that are bouncing around in the back of your mind, put it in one place, make it easy, simple, and follow a process that is unique to dispute resolution.
And I'm knowing that many mediators need something, some software to manage their practices, especially if this is their main source of income. If you were to advertise for it, tell us what are the key features you are particularly proud of in terms of your product, just if you were selling it to our viewers who are
Sure.
mediators.
So we started out just saying, look, what are the basic steps, practical business flow steps you have to proceed through while you're managing a case? You have to know who the parties are and all their contact information. You need to know who their lawyers are or any other participants. So you capture all of that. You need to be able to receive and upload documents and maintain them securely. You need to then we use checklists to do the basic steps. You can create your own process flow checklist. Did I get my agreement signed? Have I done my conflict check? Have I issued my advance payment invoice? Have I received payment from my invoice? And so forth. So you can build process flows that are unique to you and make sure you execute them in every case. Then there's a place for you to actually sit in the session and take your notes. And you can identify issues so that you know what it is you have to resolve before you get out and can go home. You can track proposals and counter proposals and counter proposals and maintain that history. You can generate your document to document the actual agreement right in the software. And that was the base product. We immediately got feedback from the market that we needed to solve scheduling and billing. So we've now done that. We have incorporated a terrific tool called Calendar Hero and integrated it, and it does group scheduling unbelievably effectively. No more of this, gee, are you available these 3 days? No, well, how about these 4 days? Or how about these times? It just does kind of a one message, exposes your calendar, lets people choose when they all come together around a date that works. It just does everything else. It books it on your calendar. It sends them invitations. It integrates with Zoom, with Outlook, and with Google. And then for billing, we realized there really were no billing products in the legal world that worked for mediation, particularly the split bill problem. You always have at least two clients in a mediation. Most law firm billing, you only have one because you typically only have one client per matter. So we designed our own billing system, and I'll tell you, it'll do any way you bill: flat fee plus hourly, in advance, in arrears, some of each, applying a tax rate for those jurisdictions that have tax professional services. We can handle any permutation of billing we heard of. And right now, we're very excited. Very soon, we will integrate our billing into QuickBooks. So if you're running your entire practice now off of a more robust accounting software like QuickBooks, our billing will feed right into that seamlessly. And we should expect to release that before the end of the month.
Awesome. Gary, I'm sharing my screen again, as I have been the last few minutes. So the best place people can contact you and learn more about this program is adrnotable.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
And everything is there basically, right? From pricing to how to even do a demo from what I see in the bottom.
Right. You can sign up and just play around with it for free for a couple of weeks. You can get a demo before that, during that, after that, where we'll walk you through everything it'll do. And we have a full-time customer success lead named Sydney Riddle. And Sydney is always available to our users to help kind of make sure you're using everything that the product can do, or basic just to get you started in it. Our software is a lot like using Word. You can sit down and start using it, and it's very intuitive, very easy to get started. And then as you work with it, you'll find there's more and more depth to it, more tricks or tools or techniques that you can use it to support your practice. But it's really easy to get started, and then we work with you to try and ensure that you eventually get the most out of it you possibly can.
Yeah, thank
That's
you for
very
that.
sorry.
Oh, let me just follow up and just finish up. The calendar issue that you brought up earlier, I think is a really, really big deal. I One of the reasons why this podcast itself is owned by Instant Mediations LLC is because, well, first Natalia picked the name a few years ago, but second, it went to attack a really big problem in the mediation space, and that is people have a really hard time sometimes getting a mediation just scheduled. I mean, they're already at war with each other. They're fighting, they have conflict, but then we expect people to just casually, conveniently, and happily sit down and agree on a date. So I think this is a really, really, really big deal. I think it will be a big breakthrough for your company, definitely. So if not for look, I'm always saying this: if you could design a program that can help people mediate by the end of the day, to a mediator who's out there online, that would resolve so many disputes, because the biggest problem is just getting a sit down organized.
Right.
And if that could happen, especially in family law, where we have all these drama filled cases, that would go so long towards people trying to make peace, instead of people sitting around waiting for weeks, if not months, to get to a mediator to help them resolve their concerns. So kudos to you about that, about Calendar Hero and integrating them. It's a big deal. So thank you.
Sure.
Those
Barbara,
are
you were
all
about to
good
ask something else.
questions. Yeah, yes. I'm enjoying Natalia and Mac's questions, because everybody thinks and perceives products in such different ways. And one that I want to be clear about for people: what's the security on your software? And I'm
Yeah.
sure that's an issue that other people have asked about. And when you talk about integrating with other products like QuickBooks or an Outlook, how is this assured that Outlook doesn't say, "Oh, something happened, it was their fault," and they're saying it was Outlook's? Where
Right.
how is this contained and framed so that people can feel 100%? This is very sensitive information in a lot of mediations, and the reason they're in mediation is because they don't want it public. So how do you know that stuff is really secured and confidential?
Yeah.
What
So
have you done to help enhance
Obviously, this is a very important question, Barbara. You are putting your finger right on a very sensitive subject. And we started from the very beginning to build the product with this in mind. So first and foremost, we're the entire product and the stored materials that users save in it is all in the Microsoft Azure cloud. So right off the bat, we benefit from all of the very sophisticated security components of their cloud services product, which of course is used by Fortune 500 companies and even the government and so forth. So everything we do is in Microsoft Azure. We've actually had an outside firm come in, because that doesn't answer the whole question. There are settings, there are features inside Azure that you need to know about. So we've had, not only do we use our own internal experts, but we've had an outside audit come in and say, okay, here's some settings things, here's some additional techniques within Azure that you should be employing. Then we make available for your use the two-factor authentication, which I highly recommend. We make it optional though, but password maintenance is the most likely way people lose control and lose security of their own product, of their own information. So if you wish, you can activate two-factor authentication, which sends you a message to your phone, makes you put in the code number. That way, somebody gets your password, they still cannot get in. And then the other thing, of course, when you engineer for security, the first thing you want to do is tell people, hey, just don't save unnecessarily sensitive information. So in our software, there's a feature at the end of a case. It's like the big red delete button. You can go in at the end of a case and with 2 clicks, you delete all of your notes and you delete all of the materials you uploaded from the parties. And that is a forensic level deletion, cannot be retrieved once you do it. You can do it immediately, or you can even set it on a schedule to occur at a specified later date. But that's one of the best mechanisms for your own security, is if you don't need it anymore, don't keep it. And we make it really easy for you to eliminate that. And it just leaves a framework as a business record. So, yes, these parties had a mediation. That's about all that's left after you hit the delete button.
Can I just follow that with another question? That's a good answer, because I think that's important for people. And who has access to seeing your information? Because if you're going to connect with QuickBooks, and if you're connecting, with emails, etc., is there a back door or some place where people have also access to seeing your information?
Right. So first off, and let me take this a little bit different direction, because our product actually is designed to also support a whole firm of neutrals, not just one at a time.
Sure.
So we had to build in what's referred to as role-based security. So in our system, there must be at least one firm administrator who does have access to everything. They can go into any case, they can see anything in the case. And you have to do that for continuity purposes, right? If something happens to a mediator before that matter is resolved, somebody has to be able to go back in, step in, assign a new mediator, and see the materials. So there is a firm administrator that has ultimate privileges. Then there's a level for the mediators who can do anything, of course, in any case, as long as they are assigned to it. And in a firm, they won't even be able to see, let alone access, cases they are not assigned to. And then you can have case managers who have a lower level of security, and even billing clerks who again, it just keeps scaling down to lower and lower levels. So first of all, there's role-based security within the system if it's put in place in a large firm. Then on these integrations you talk about, so they're one-way integrations. There isn't a way to go, to go in through, for instance, Outlook email into ADR Notable. There is just a way where we can see your ADR Notable, your Outlook calendar right there in the application. But it's really just pulling that and making it visible inside our application where you can work with it. And in QuickBooks, it's the same thing. Nothing is coming from QuickBooks into ADR Notable. We're taking our billing information and invoicing and all of the records that we're creating in our billing app and pushing them one way into QuickBooks, so that QuickBooks basically can capture the revenue and understand open bills that are unpaid and revenue recognition and so forth. So those are sort of literally like one-way portals. Same with our document upload. You can upload documents into ADR Notable not through email, but through a secure pathway, but that nothing comes back out. It's a one-way passageway.
Mm-hmm. And the way I understand it is actually aggregating all the tools that mediators practically sometimes use, but pay different subscriptions to different entities around, whereas you can integrate that. Does it work also the same way for electronic signing, for electronic signature?
Yeah, good question. And to tell you, you're exactly right. Our objective in the end is to have all the tools you need to run a practice in one place. To your specific question, we don't have digital signature yet. We have an ongoing list of what we call our product roadmap, and it's pretty high up on the list. It will be there by the end of the year, I'm sure. I'm not quite sure. It's not on our immediate priority list. we've had an opportunity to make a few tweaks to our product and have it applied in a variety of contexts that were a little bit unexpected for us. So when we have a client come to us and say, hey, I need, I'm going to buy 30 seats on your product, if you can just tweak it the following ways, that kind of gets to the top of the list. You meet those needs first. So, but digital signature keeps coming up. So it's definitely, it's kind of like right behind billing, scheduling, digital signature, or sort of those three that we need to get done. We've got 2 out of 3 done. We got to get that third one done too.
Wow, Gary, what is the one thing that you didn't expect that people requested that you have incorporated? You're talking about how you do see priorities, but what took you by surprise that was important to a mediator?
I would say I guess I do it a little bit the reverse. I got started on this just building the little section of the product that is the note taking. And I thought that would be really, really interesting and useful, because I remember in my practice sessions, with my fingers in a yellow legal pad trying to keep track of different things that were related. And I kept saying, this is nuts. If I just put them in a product like ADR Notable, I can drag and drop them. I can move them around. I can put them in a different order. I can put the issues related to the proposals that are addressed. I can do all this stuff right here on the screen. So, and that has been, people like it, but I think maybe the checklist feature is the one that it went from just a kind of a historical checklist, like you use like a shopping list. Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? People came back and said, no. I need it to be a task list so I could put a future due date on it. So, okay, we did that. And then trainers came to us and said, oh, this is great. They can access my ideas about, here are 10 ways to break an impasse. We could put that in a checklist, which they could access in 2 clicks right there in the middle of the session for a little inspiration about how to get out of a problem. So I think the when people saw the checklist feature, the way it grew by people's imagination, helping us make it into something bigger and better, was really, really fun, really exciting. So now it's a checklist like a shopping list. It's a to-do list and a task list, and it's a little bit of last minute, spur of the moment inspiration if you need it from your training course.
Well, Gary, this has been wonderful, and I want to give you a loud round of applause for trying to elevate the simplicity of mediation, because there's so many bells and whistles for a practitioner. And a lot of people are solo practitioners. They aren't sitting in a large office. They're not sitting with a lot of people around them where they have a person that's going to do this, one that does that. You're going to have the person who's doing it all. So you kind of become the all-purpose big office for the little guy. Gary, adrnotable.com. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your innovation and insights and great technology tool for the mediator. Thank you for being with us today.
It's so good to see you two, both Mac and Natalia. Good to see you two again. And Barbara, thanks so much for inviting me to do this. I appreciate it so much.
Well, we're happy to have you on Manousso Musing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys. Until next time.